Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Ange, and for this video, we will create a Power BI dashboard that aims to monitor the status of an organization's order transactions. Before anything else, let's first have an introduction to what is Power BI. Power BI is a free application. Yes, you heard it right, it is free. You'll install it in your local computer and it will let you connect, transform, and visualize your data. With Power BI Desktop, you can connect to multiple different sources of data and transform them into a data model. Most professionals working in business intelligence projects use Power BI Desktop to create reports and dashboards. Let's get started. So as soon as you open your Power BI in your desktop, you will have access to this yellow prompt. This yellow prompt consists of the easy access commands starting from get data, our recent sources, open other reports. We also have here other videos that will help you get started with Power BI and other useful links like what's new in terms of the updates, the forums, the Power BI blog, and that of other tutorials. Now, our first step would be to click on the Get Data command. We'll just wait for a couple of seconds to load, and there you have it, our Get Data command. So as you can see here, we have vast type of data sources available and are being supported by Power BI. So I'll just hover it to the different data sources that Power BI have. We have here the Excel, which is the simplest and easiest data source that we can manipulate. We also have some database, the Power Platforms, Azure, SQL, online services, and other data sources. Now for this exercise, you will be using the Excel workbook. So I'll just click on Excel and connect. So before going through, I'll first provide you a preview of our dataset. So you will be using a year worth of data from Company A that provides retail services to multiple international companies. We have here the request ID details, the requesting company details, the receiving department of the orders received, the period and date those orders are made, the order quantity, and the request status. So we have also 3 stages of the order transaction cycle. The first one is when the order is submitted to the receiving department. The second one is the approval or rejection of the receiving department, and the third would be the completion of the order. So just an additional information, we have a total of 500 transactions from 2022. So that's it for the background of our dataset. So we'll just click on the dataset and there you go. Just wait for a couple of seconds to load. So as you can see here, we have the folder and dataset 1, dataset 2. So are here. So you just click on the dataset and click on load. You can confirm if your data is already loaded when you check in one of our right panes. As you can see here, we have 3 panes. And for you to check if your data is already loaded, you can see it here under Fields and Dataset 1. If we drill it down, just click on the arrow, you can see all the data details or the header in our Excel. The date, the order quantity, the period, receiving department, request ID, request status, and that of the requesting company. Now I'll just hover here. We already have our data loaded and we're ready to get started with our visual. Just to give you a run through, we'll be doing our visuals in the report. This is the report. The next one is the data. If you click on the data, you will see the same Excel data, but this one is not in Excel. All the details that we have in our Excel file a while ago is loaded here. So there you go. So you have additional fields or columns here. Since we don't need these columns, all we need to do is just right click and delete these columns. So the reason why we have additional columns is because of the part where we have the first, second, and third level. So Power BI will capture or will load all the columns that have information or data. After that, we'll just click on check and we'll be able to have our data cleaned up. And for the last part, we have here the model. So since our data or the data source that we will be using is simple, you don't have any other data source here. The relationships is very simple. Next up, let's have a run through on our right side pane. So we have here the filters pane. This is where we configure which data filters to include and update the existing filters. So we'll manipulate a lot here later. Next up, we have the visualizations, or we can call it visuals for short. It displays visual insights available for you to use. So as you can see here, we have build visuals in different charts, bar graphs, tables, and other mappings that we can use. We also have here the format page wherein we can use to format the visuals that we will be adding. And we have the third pane, which is the fields. It shows you the data source. So for this exercise, we will be doing a simple dashboard that lets stakeholders analyze the data results in an efficient and effective manner. So the first thing I'll do is I'll just click on insert and we have it under shapes. I'm just adding a rectangle shape here, just formatting and resizing it to fit our dashboard. And I'll be showing you again our three panes here. From here, we will be editing the title. So to edit the title or to add the title of our shape, we just have to turn on the title and add here. So we have here the title, and you can also edit on the font style. And of course, the size of it. Okay, for it to properly fit, you just edit the background color and the horizontal assignment. So there you have it. Just editing a couple of items. Okay, let's make it more visible. Yep, there you go. So this is our dashboard title, just to make it more presentable to our stakeholders. The next step, we will be using 5 types of visuals in this dashboard. First would be our slicers. So I'll just show you under the visualizations or the visuals, I will be running through all the charts and graphs that we will be using. The first would be our slicers. These are the slicers. As you can see here, we have vast options of what kind of visuals we'll be using. But for this dashboard, we'll be using the simplest and most common charts and graphs that are being used in a usual corporate presentations. So we have here the slicers. The slicers is actually a standalone chart that can be used to filter the other visuals. It is actually a great choice to display commonly used or important filters on the report for easier access. So we will be using 3 slicers for this. A filter for the period, a filter for the receiving department, and a filter for the requesting company. The second chart is we will be using this 100% stack bar chart. Well, these are very common. These are standard for looking at a specific value across different categories. For this one, our category would be the status of that specific requesting company. Now, we'll be using also a donut chart. It is a visual representation to show the relationship of parts to a whole. Very common or very similar to the pie chart. And lastly, we'll be using the tables here. So you actually have two options for this one, the tables and the matrix. But for this dashboard, we will be using a simple one, which is the tables. The tables, this is a grid that contains the related data in a logical series of rows and columns. So now let's get started. I will start by adding the start with this one. I'll just click on our first visual. We have the slicer. As soon as I click on the slicer, it will show you this blank visual wherein it has this prompt of select or drag fields to populate these visuals. So what we'll do here is we will first add to the filters. We'll drop down our dataset for easy access to our fields. And the first data that we will be using here is the request ID. So the request ID, we have to include it under filters because this will pertain to the count of the order transactions that we have. And of course, the period, which is the very purpose of this slicer is to filter the period. So we have to include it under filters. So under filters, you have two data, the period and the request ID. With that, the next step would be under visualization. All we need to do is drag the data filter that we need. So for this part, we will be dragging period under field. I'll just put it here. And as you can see, you have this period. This is the title of the slicer. You have number here 1 to 12, which is January to December. You can just hover it this way so that it will be able to filter the data from other visuals. I will just show you what are the different types of slicer. So we have here the list. So as you can see here, the list, it will show you all the options or the filters that you have. The drop down, actually it will also show you all the items, but at first it's hidden and it just shows all. So if you click on 4 and 5, it will show multiple selections. But if you choose only 4 or period 4, it will only show 4. That's the reason why I like drop down slicer. You also have the between. So this is the default slicer type. The less than or equal to and the greater than or equal. So here, the less than or greater than to or equal to. And for this slicer, we'll be using the drop down. So I think we're good in our first slicer. Now we go to our next visuals again, the slicer. So this will be a same approach. We'll choose the request ID under filters on the visuals, and this time we'll be choosing the requesting company as the filters. And under field, we'll be adding the filter that we need, which is the requesting company. Okay, there you have it. And again, we'll be using the same type of slicer, which is drop down. And the last slicer that we will be using is our receiving department. Okay. Then under visualization, just click on receiving department. So it will show in the field. Same way, choose drop down as a type of slicer. The next step will be adding our donut chart. And our donut chart will go here. So for our donut chart, this will also be a simple one. We just need our request ID and our request status. So we'll be showing the request status of the order transactions that we receive. For the legend, of course, the legend will be our request status and the values would be the request ID. So there we go, our donut chart. So we'll just manipulate the visuals under format your visuals. So again, here the legend is on, but instead of center right, I'll be putting it top center so that our donut chart will be larger. After that, you can also edit the colors of your slices. Just click on the legend and you can choose any color here. You can also check or edit the detail labels. You can put it outside or you can put it inside. So it depends on how you prefer your donut chart. And also you can rotate your chart here. For the general, so as you can see, our title is on. We'll just move on to other editing types. So under effects, if you want to change the background as a whole, okay, you can have it here. Under format visuals, general. Okay. Next up would be our bar chart. Okay, this time our bar chart will consist most of our space. So for this one, we will be needing our request ID, our requesting company, and the status of the order transactions. So we have here 3, so more details. Okay, and for our values, just click on again our blank canvas. For our values, our y-axis must consist of our requesting company. Our x-axis should be our request ID, and our legend is our request status. So as you can see, this bar graph shows the current status of the orders per requesting company. So just go under format your visual and edit some parts like the data labels. So here you can see you can edit the data labels that we have. So I'll just remove the decimal places so that it will be cleaner to look at. And finally, our last visual would be our table. So this is just an additional information to provide our stakeholders a grid that contains all the related data of our order transactions. Again, let's start with our request ID, the order quantity, the receiving department, the requesting company, request status. Yep, I think we have everything. You also add on the date. Okay. So with that, we almost have everything. And under columns, we will just add everything here. First would be under the receiving department. It is our first column. After that is requesting company. the dates that I'll be clicking on period, and I'll add it here. But it should not include any sum. Yep. We'll just edit on how we will be sorting this. So sort this per period, but it must be ascending. So we'll start for period 1. So they can just hover easily. We have created our overall order request dashboard. So we'll be able to report the status of the order transactions of company A to our stakeholders. Just a couple of ways we can manipulate the data that we have here when we are reporting to our stakeholders. Let's say, for example, you want to report only those that are for quarter 1 of 2022. So we'll just click on the period here. We will be able to filter all the transactions or order transactions that we have for quarter 1. We can also choose what requesting company we want to analyze. So for 123 International, it will show you the entire details of the order transactions for this single company. And you can also choose the or filter out the receiving department. Let's say only for those order requests for procurement if these are being reported to the procurement team. Also, if you want to erase or clear your selections, you can always click here, the little eraser button, and yeah, you have all your data. Power BI is such an exciting tool for us to use and explore. So thank you guys for watching till the end. If you learn and enjoy from this tutorial, I would really appreciate it if you gives me a thumbs up. And if you want more, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you again, everyone. Bye, and always, always, always be awesome. Thanks.